Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. It is just over a year since Northern Ireland gained devolved control over aspects of air passenger duty, no longer subject to Westminster's hikes. Incidentally, listening to Hanzala Malik, of course, it perfectly illustrated one of the irrationalities of the scheme. Flights to Lahore will be in Band B of APD, but flights to India are Band C, so perhaps Lahore could be a hub. Provided you stop for 24 hours in Lahore, you don't have to pay APD on the duty to India. Just one of the many irrationalities that there are in the scheme. We've seen that Glasgow, Aberdeen and Edinburgh have described APD as a significant barrier and an increasing burden, and they would welcome devolution. Alec Neil, Cabinet Secretary for Infrastructure and Capital Investment, stated APD was a contributory factor in the demise of Prestwick Airport's link with Stansted. We are definitely suffering indeed. Lower air passenger duties can correlate with benefit to the environment. Not only direct flights give us more efficient travel, less hassle, increased tourism, but also reduce the environmental impact. But let me, given that environment is featured in this debate, talk about some of the positive things that devolution of full APD powers could do for us. First of all, we could reduce APD for flights that are towed out from the terminal to the departure point. That requires some capital investment, but would reduce fuel for short-haul flights by between 5 and 10%. Let's see reduced APD for turboprop flights. If you think that's a bit irrational, the shortest scheduled service between Scotland and London happens to be a turboprop flight. On short flights, there is no time disadvantage. That saves between 25 and 40% fuel, and because the turboprops fly at lower, I really won't have time, fly at a lower level, the radiative forcing is reduced. Let's reduce APD for flights that burn low sulphur kerosene. At the moment, marine and aviation are the only people using fuels that are still 3% sulphur. In our cars, we're now down to 0.5% sulphur. That would reduce SO2 emissions and have significant environmental impacts. We had a little bit about biofuels. Well, we will move to a position where we'll be able to use hydrogen, a fuel which can be produced 100% from renewable energy, more or less eliminating the CO2 from aviation in the longer term. Wouldn't it be good through APD to be able to start to encourage aviation operators that move in that direction via biofuels? Should we use some of the receipts of APD to invest in longer runways? Longer runways mean that you need less power to take off, you need less power on approach to land, which are the very significant parts of a flight. One of the reasons that Aberdeen's figures have gone up is because the runway has been extended by around 100 metres. For example, the flights from Aberdeen to Baku by Azerbaijan Airlines now, instead of previously could only take 40 passengers, can now fill the plane because the runway has been lengthened. Let's look at the advantages that environmentally there would be if we're able, instead of the Edinburgh-Manchester rail line transporting people from Edinburgh to Manchester to fly, is instead transporting people from Manchester to Edinburgh fly, because there's a competitive advantage from lower APD. And if there's more choice at Edinburgh, people will travel more directly, and that will be helping. Let's look, if we had the full powers of an independent country, about the routing of our for aircraft. We're congested in central Scotland. We have a one-way system in Edinburgh and Glasgow airports that mean aircraft have to travel west across towards Prestwick and then down to Dean's Cross in the Lake District on the way out. We could look at that. Let's look at allowing single-engined instrument flights, as the whole of Scandinavia does. That reduces emissions. Let's look at whether we could have precision GPS approaches, which reduce the approach time, reduce flying time. So many things we could do with APD, so many things we could do with the normal powers of an independent country.